So as we are talking about the bond angles, we need to recall something that we learned in class 11. We learned something in class 11 that was VSEPR. The VSEPR theory. And we also learned how to find out hybridization, right? We also learned the concept of hybridization. Those two concepts we need to bring in. We also need to talk about what? Hybridization. These two concepts we need to remember, recall, okay? So let's first start with hybridization. We are doing this in order to come to the bond angle part, but first we need to recall a bit these concepts. So when we are talking about hybridization, first thing we need to know is how to calculate it. The concept of hybridization right now I'm not discussing because that is a class 11 concept. Now I'm recalling from class 11 only, how can you find out hybridization? So if you think hybridization is X, you'll have half, there's a formula, and half V plus M minus C plus A. That used to be a formula in class 11, okay? You remember, I think. So here V is referring to the number of valence electrons, M to the monovalent atoms associated with the central atom. For example, if you take the example of H2O, here oxygen, it is having how many valence electrons? It is having 6 valence electrons, and M is the number of monovalent atoms associated with oxygen. Here there are 2 hydrogen atoms, so 2, and the C is for a cation. If it has charge, positive charge, then we'll subtract, and plus A is for anion. If there is a negative charge, we'll add the number of electrons, because you know negative charge means more electrons, positive charge means less electrons, but we have neither. No charge here, so we will ignore this part. Finish. 0 0, that is 0 0 for both. 6 plus 2, that is 8. And if you cut, you'll get 4. This means that there are 4 electron pairs surrounding oxygen. 4 electron pairs surrounding oxygen. Four pairs of electrons surrounding oxygen. Okay. Now what does that mean in terms of hybridization? If you recall that what you have learned in class 11, if there are pair of electrons, okay, if there are 2 pairs of electrons, it is hybridization is sp. If it is 3, it is sp2. If it is 4, it is sp3, and so on. Since we have 4, we have that this H2 molecule will be sp3, the oxygen will be sp3 hybridized. Okay, in the H2 molecule, the oxygen will be sp3 hybridized. So if sp3 hybridized, that means it associates with the particular geometry, right? sp3 hybridization means what? It is tetrahedral geometry. Tetrahedral. Okay. However, the shape will be a little bit different, because out of these four electron pairs, all of them are not bond pairs, right? The electron pairs, the valence electron pairs, which are surrounding oxygen, there are 4 of them, but 2 of them are bond pairs, 2 of them are lone pairs. Now how do I know that? Obviously I know the Lewis structure. Everybody knows the Lewis structure, right? Everybody knows the Lewis structure of water. Water will have 2 lone pairs, total 6 electrons, right, in the last shell, and it will need 2 to become an octet. So we say that 2 electrons it is sharing with 1 pair of electron, each it is sharing with a hydrogen. Okay, here 1 pair being shared, 1 pair being shared. These are the bond pairs and these are the lone pairs, okay, which are not shared with anybody else. Okay, so because we have 2 lone pairs and 2 bond pairs, it will affect the shape. It will affect the shape of the molecule, right? Now, oxygen molecule, I'm showing like this. This should be the actual shape of the oxygen molecule, sorry, the water molecule, okay? The oxygen atom will have 2 lone pairs. The 2 lone pairs will be repelling the bond pairs, and instead of having a straight shape, they will have a bit bent shape. If you see the shape, it is like a V, upside down V. So we can call it V shape or bent. Why is that? Due to the repulsion of the lone pairs. Here is where the VACPR is coming into play. VACPR theory was what? Valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. Valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. In the valence shell, we saw that there were 4 electron pairs, right? 4 electron pairs, out of which 2 were lone pairs, 2 were bond pair, right? So the bond pair and lone pair, but we have to remember one thing that we learned from the theory, the VACPR theory, the conclusions of it, that lone pair repulsion is the greatest. Okay, then comes lone pair bond pair repulsion, and finally comes bond pair repulsion. So repulsion is maximum between lone pair and lone pair, then between lone pair and bond pair, and finally between bond pair and bond pair. So because of this repulsion, it cannot retain its tetrahedral shape, rather it turns into a distorted tetrahedral, a little bit changed, and it becomes a V shape. Okay, it becomes a V shape. Not only the shape changes, but the shape changes because there is a change in the bond angle. The angle here between these two, this angle changes due to the repulsion of the lone pairs. The lone pairs are repelling each other, but they are repelling the bond pair also. So the bond pairs come closer to each other. Okay, if it was supposed to be tetrahedral, then the bond angle would have been 109 degree 28 minute, but it has been found that it is not the case. Bond angle is not 109 degree 28 minutes. The bond angle is rather 104.5 degree. Why is that? We are going to discuss now. So we were talking about the hydrides of group 16 elements, okay? And those hydrides are H2O, H2S, H2Se and H2Te. Now the bond angles, the data I am presenting to you here, the bond angle for this, for H2O between O and H, the bond angle between HOH is 104.5 degrees. For H2S, it reduces further to 92.1 degree. For H2SE, it further reduces to become 91 degrees, and in case of H2TE, it becomes 90 degree. So you can see there is a decreasing order of bond angle, okay? But as we were discussing a bit earlier, that the bond angle should be, since the central atom is sp3 hybridized, we saw it for H2O, it is true for all of them, okay? The central atom is sp3 hybridized, which means tetrahedral geometry. Tetrahedral geometry. Now, you have studied in class 11 that if something is tetrahedral, then the bond angle should be 109 degree 28 minute, right? This you have studied in class 11. If you do not remember, please go and read it again. VSEPR theory, hybridization, bond angles, these were the basic parts that we studied in class 11, very important, okay? So if you remember, then it's fine. sp3 is the hybridization. We just saw how to calculate that, and we know that it corresponds to tetrahedral, and it is supposed to have this bond angle. The bond angle between this angle I'm talking about, this HOH, this angle should have been how much? Should have been, these are the lone pairs that I'm showing here. They are the lone pairs. Should have been how much? Should have been 109 degree 28 minutes, okay? However, it is not so. Experimentally, we have found that it is 104.5 degree. Now, why is there this discrepancy? Obviously, because of the lone pairs. As we have discussed in the VSEPR theory, valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. In the VSEPR theory, what did we discuss? That lone pair repulsion is the greatest. This is the greatest, lone pair, then comes lone pair, bond pair repulsion, and finally bond pair, okay? BP, LP, BP, BP. That means lone pair, there are two lone pairs in the structure of water. These lone pair are repelling each other, so they will repel the bonded hydrogen atoms closer, because the repulsion between these two is less than the repulsion between these two. So the molecule always orients itself in such a way that the minimum possible repulsion is going on here, okay? So if it is being repelled by the lone pair, it will move closer. The bond pairs will move closer to each other in order to minimize that repulsion. Bond pair and bond pair also repel each other, but this repulsion is less. So because of the repulsion due to the lone pairs of oxygen, it will be pushed closer. The bond angle will become smaller. From the supposed 109 degree 28 minute, it will come to 104.5 degree, okay? And when it comes to even further, the H2S, H2SE, H2TE, as you can see from the data that I have provided here, the bond angles are getting smaller and smaller, right? They're getting what? Smaller and smaller. Why are they getting smaller and smaller? What is the difference? See, there will not be any difference in the hybridization. Why not? Because you see, each and everyone belong to the same group, is it not? Each and everyone belong to the same group. Here, group 16 obviously. Oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, all are group 16 elements. And remember the formula that we just talked about? Which formula? This formula where we are finding the hybridization, the number of electron pairs, okay? We are finding the number of valence electron pairs, X half V plus M minus C plus E. This formula we use for what? Finding out the number of valence electron pairs surrounding the central atom. And what is the number of valence electrons in Oxygen we discussed just now. If you think of sulfur, what is it? Sulfur also valence electron is same, because in a particular group the valence electron, number of valence electrons remains the same. So it will be 6 here, and how many monovalent atoms are there? 2 hydrogens, here also 2 hydrogens, here also 2 hydrogens, no difference, 2. There is not any charge here, no negative charge, no positive charge, no charge. So we don't need to consider these two anyway. This is for the cations charge, this is for anions charge, there is no charge here. So basically we'll always find there are 4 pair of electrons, 4 pair. If 4 pair of electrons are there, if there are 4 pair of electrons, that means what? There will always be sp3 hybridization, and the number of lone pair and bond pair also same in all of them, okay? There is, if I replace the oxygen with sulfur, same thing, there will be 2 bond pairs and 2 lone pairs. As a result, the shape will be V shape or bent shape, and there will be no difference in the geometry, okay? The tetrahedral geometry will be there and sp3 hybridization will be there, but it cannot have the perfect tetrahedral shape. Why? Because of the repulsion due to the lone pairs. If all of the 4 were 4 electron pairs were bond pairs, it would have the perfect angle. That is what we expect from a tetrahedral molecule, 109 degree 28 minutes. But in this case, due to the repulsion, as you already saw, in case of water molecule, the bond angle got smaller, right? Because of the repulsion of the lone pairs. And it will happen so in case of H2S also, in case of H2Se also, in case of H2Te also. In every case, the bond angle will become smaller than 109 degree 28 minute because of the repulsion due to the lone pair of electrons. Now each and every one of them have same 2 lone pair of electrons, right? 2 lone pair of electrons. So why is there a decrease in the bond angle? Why is there a decrease in the bond angle from here to here? There is a decrease in the bond angle because of the change in electronegativity. Change in electronegativity of the elements. Here, as we already know from our class 10 knowledge, if we go down the group, the electronegativity decreases, is it not? The electronegativity decreases from top to bottom, okay? The electronegativity decreases from top to bottom, and since oxygen is the most electronegative, the lone pairs in oxygen are held very strongly by the oxygen atom. Those who are electronegative, they can pull electrons more strongly, right? The tendency to pull electrons more strongly. So what happens in this case? The oxygen lone pairs are pushing, okay? Lone pairs are pushing the bond pairs, but they're also held tightly, so they cannot push as much. But if we think of sulfur, it is less electronegative, so the lone pairs in sulfur, in the same situation like this, if I write just sulfur instead of oxygen, it will push more. It will repel the hydrogens, the bond pairs between oxygen and hydrogen even more. As a result, the bond angle will shrink even more. Let me just, it is of course not an accurate drawing, but let me just tell you what I mean to say, just show you. These are the lone pairs, right? These are the lone pairs, and because of the extra push by the lone pairs, extra repulsion by the lone pairs, the bond angle becomes even smaller to 92.1 degree. So why is that happening? Because the sulfur atom is not as electronegative as the oxygen atom, okay? Since it is not as electronegative as the oxygen atom, the repulsion, the lone pair of electrons are more free. Actually, they are not held so strongly as they are held by oxygen. So they are more free, they can repel more nicely, and if they are repelling more nicely, the bond angles is getting pushed and becoming smaller and smaller, okay? Same thing happens to selenium and tellurium. They are all even less electronegative than oxygen, so there the bond angle is further decreasing, okay? So that is about the trend of bond angles. Okay, what is the trend then? The trend is this much, that the bond angle will be the greatest in case of H2O. Okay, then if you go to H2S, it will be less. Again, it will be lesser in case of H2Se, and finally the least in case of H2Te. There is the trend of bond angle. Okay. Now we are going to talk about a very interesting thing, a question. Let me put forth the question here. It's a very common question. H2O is a liquid at room temperature, obviously. But H2S is a gas. So at room temperature, H2S is a gas, but H2 is a liquid. This is a well-known fact. We know this very much, is it not? We know that H2O is a liquid at room temperature. We have to boil it, is it not? And H2S, you must have encountered it already in the lab. If you have not, you're soon going to encounter H2S in the lab. It is a gas, obviously we keep in the Kipps apparatus by the side of your lab. You must have noticed the smelly gas, rotten egg smell. So this is a gas, this is a liquid. Why is that? Why is this a gas and this a liquid? If you think in terms of van der Waals forces, it will not make sense. It will not make sense, as we know, with the increase in the size, the larger the molecule gets, van der Waals forces increase, right? Van der Waals forces increase. Think about this, all the hydrides. Let me write all the hydrides again. See, if I write H2O, H2S, H2Se and H2Te, these are all the hydrides. Now going down in the group, obviously the size will increase. As the size is increasing, what will happen? The van der Waals force will also increase. Remember, van der Waals force is always van der Waals force of attraction. This is always increasing with the size of the molecule. Okay, so as the size increases, the van der Waals force will increase, and it is true, it will increase. As we go down the group, the boiling point and melting point, this will actually increase the volatility. Okay, the volatility means, volatile means what? Vaporize, right? So they will not vaporize as easily if you go down the group. With going down the group, the volatility actually decreases. That means they will not become vapor easily. Why not? Because of the van der Waals force of attraction, which increases with the increase in sizes of the molecule. So size will increase, the attraction will increase, the force of attraction increase. That means they will not easily vaporize or easily melt. Okay. However, this trend is broken by water. Water being the smallest of all these molecules, it should have had even more volatility. It should have been even less boiling point and melting point, but it is not so. Water is actually having far greater boiling point than H2S. Why so? The answer lies in intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Let me write it down for you. You must have come across in class 11 also, it's one of the important parts in class 11, intermolecular hydrogen bonding. What does this mean, intermolecular hydrogen bonding? It means that between the molecules of water, there is a force of attraction which is known as hydrogen bonding. This force of attraction keeps them from boiling easily, vaporizing easily. Now what is that? Let me discuss a little bit in details. See, water is a polar covalent compound. That you have known. Water is what? Water is a polar covalent compound. That you have known in class 10 also. It is not new to you. Oxygen is obviously having high what? Electronegativity. Second only to fluorine, is it not? So oxygen has high electronegativity. So because of that high electronegativity, what happens? The bond pairs, okay, the electron shared pair of electrons, they are pulled closer to whom? It has the lone pairs and pulled closer to the oxygen. So what happens? Electrons, although oxygen is sharing with hydrogen, the shared electrons are closer to oxygen. Okay, they're closer to oxygen. As a result, oxygen develops a delta negative charge. Okay, I'm giving 2 delta negative because the thing is, because from both sides it is pulling the pairs. Okay, and because the electrons are pulled further away from hydrogen, hydrogen will develop a delta positive charge. Now delta here indicates slight. Okay, if I write full H plus, that means what? Electron is totally lost. It is not like that. Electron is still being shared, but the shared pair of electrons are closer to the oxygen atom. Imagine you and your brother are sharing, say in the winter month you are sharing a blanket and your brother keeps pulling one side. Something like that. Okay, it is not exactly, you are not exactly taking away, but still pulling more towards one side. So because it is more closer to the oxygen, it acquires. And why it is more closer to the oxygen? Because oxygen is more electronegative. That means it has tendency to pull electrons towards itself more than that of hydrogen. Now this condition is a dipole. You understand, this positive pole, negative pole. So dipole-dipole interaction only. Hydrogen bonding is a kind of dipole-dipole interaction only. Okay, but it is far stronger because of the greater electronegativity of oxygen. Okay, so what will happen if there is another molecule of oxygen, molecule of water, molecule of water, this hydrogen will be attracted by this. Okay, this hydrogen will be attracted by this oxygen, and there will be another one. There is this oxygen is there attracting the hydrogen of this. Okay, and so on and so forth. If I have an oxygen molecule here, the delta negative oxygen will always attract the slightly positively charged, slightly positive hydrogen. So it's kind of this. It will go on. I can draw here also, I can go on. So the thing is that this force of attraction is there between the slightly delta positive hydrogen and delta negative oxygen. This attraction, here there is attraction. So everywhere, this force of attraction is the hydrogen bonding between the different molecules of water. Okay, this intermolecular hydrogen bonding makes the water molecules form an associate. So it is more energy is required to vaporize the water molecule than H2S, because H2S will be together, but they'll have only van der Waals force of attraction. Here there is stronger force, that is intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So more energy is required to boil water compared to H2S. H2S is already a gas at room temperature, but water is not. We need to boil it, right? So that is the reason. Simply putting it is intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Okay. Now since it is not present in any of the other hydrides, they follow the general trend. H2O is the exception, but the remaining H2S, H2, Se, H2Te, they will follow the general trend, because they are in that one only the van der Waals force is working. So if I go down, the melting point or the boiling point, both will increase as we go down, but not in this case. This is an exception. This is greater than this fellow, greater than all. It should have been the lowest, but not due to intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Okay, so this is it for today's class. We'll see you again in the next class. Thank you.